And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. This is Andy Webb with Lifestyles Unlimited, and as always, we are working on your financial freedom. And yes, it is Tell Al Tuesday. Hey, I'm filling in again. Keep Al in your thoughts and prayers. He did have back surgery a number of weeks ago. He's still recovering from that, so I do have the opportunity to sit in and take the mic. And again, Al, please get well. And if you caught the show last week for Tell Al Tuesday, you know that I talked with a couple, it was a week or so ago, and they had just closed on an apartment community. Well, I'm joined today by another couple that is in that same boat, having just closed on their apartment community. This one is in Texas, but boy, you can't get much farther south than where these guys are operating without landing in Mexico. We're going to hear about that. And it gets even better. Closed on an apartment community, that's great. Even better, one of our two guests literally just retired from corporate America this month. I love to hear that. So big congratulations to James and Kimberly. Guys, welcome to the show. How are y'all doing today?
Fine. How are you? Thank you.
You're great.
We're great. Thank you guys for having us.
Who just retired?
I did. 25 years in semiconductor.
How long? 25 years?
Yes, sir. One job, 10 years at the other with semiconductor also.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I haven't really settled in yet.
It takes a while. I left my job back in March, and it's an adjustment for sure. It takes some time. So we're going to hear your story and what got you to that retirement. Maybe you guys can set the stage for us and give us a little bit. We know semiconductors, 25 years. Give us a little bit more of that background. What were you guys doing before you came to Lifestyles and started the apartment syndication business?
Go ahead, Kimberly.
Well, I worked for an HR. I was the HR director for a nonprofit, and I also worked as a school teacher at one point and moved into HR in the school district and then moved to a nonprofit. And so we started a little bit of working on weekends with single family investments. So we started investing. We probably about 10 years ago, we bought one property. Really didn't have a map or anything to follow. We kind of just did it on our own. Made a lot of mistakes. But of course, real estate is forgiving. But then we heard about Lifestyles Unlimited and decided to go into multifamily at that point. James, your background?
I'm in semiconductor maintenance. Like I say, I've been doing it. It's really been about 35 years. Currently just leaving my job now that I was at for 25 years.
Very good.
And like Kimberly said, I was on the weekends, I would do construction work with my uncles now. So I got into remodeling, rebuilding houses at an early age, and this is what it transpired to.
Yeah, it translates very well. Now, the single family that you guys were acquiring, were you flipping these houses, or were you holding those and operating them as rentals?
Holding them and operating as rentals.
Okay. So you guys saw, and this was pre-Lifestyles, you said you made a lot of mistakes, and I meet a lot of members at Lifestyles that started on their own and learned the hard way, and then come to the organization and improve their business just by having a higher benchmark, essentially, through our mentorship base, all the members that are performing well. When you came to Lifestyles, when was that? What year was that?
It was like in the fall of 2017. We really joined preferred in 2018.
Okay. And what was the big attraction? So you're doing single family already. What was the big attraction to come to Lifestyles? How did you hear about Lifestyles? Let me ask you that.
Sure. A friend of ours told us about Lifestyles, and we attended the 2-day. So on the first day, here we are with these single family homes. They start talking to us about what Lifestyles will teach you and how you get tenants, the right tenants. How do you determine how much to charge for rent that will cover you, your taxes, and any other things that might happen? We weren't taking all that into consideration. You know, we had all of these homes, but at the end of the year when taxes were due, we were scrambling because we didn't plan. We didn't have a system in place. And so that first day we were looking at each other like, gosh, we've just been stumbling over ourselves for the last 10 years. And then the second day when they started talking about multifamily, we thought, okay, this is a transition that we need to make.
Those single family, do you still have them, or did you start turning those over, disposing of those to make that move to multifamily?
We got rid of them. Go ahead, Kim.
Last year we got rid of like 8 or so of them. I think we still have 2 or 3 left, just a couple left. So we're going to we're trying to get rid of those as well, transitioning everything over to multifamily.
Yeah, I understand. Once I did single family myself for 10 years. We joined, my wife and I, as members in 2012. And that's all we've done for that bulk of time, and only recently started getting into the passive game. And as I'm seeing how those passive apartments are performing, I also say, all right, we got to get that capital out, that equity, cash out refi or sale, and let's get that into apartments. But you guys, now when you came into the organization, we got about a minute and a half or so, did you come in thinking, hey, we're going to be a lead investor, we're going to syndicate apartment deals, or did you think, hey, I'm going to be a passive? What was your target initially?
No, we came in knowing we wanted to be leads because we knew if we had the guidance, we could handle multifamily. So we came in wanting to be leads.
And what was it at the 2-day that really lit that fire under you guys?
I think a turning point for me was I wasn't quite sold because, I wasn't quite sold yet. But then the turning point was the second day. We had David Fisher at that time. He looked at us and he asked us a little bit our history, what we've done so far. He says, you know what? You should really look at the multifamily. You guys can do it. Just the fact that he said that we could do it, or he believed that we could do it, was a turning point for me. This guy knows our history a little bit. He knows our background. He knows what it takes to do this. If he thinks we can, we probably can.
I'm your host today, Andy Webb, for Tell Al Tuesday, and I'm joined today by James and Kimberly. We heard in the first segment, James, again, congratulations, just left his job this month. Kimberly, I think you retired a few years ahead of James. When did you exit the workforce?
At our first property in 2019. Well, 2018, I spent the first year. This was before COVID. 2018, that's when I left my job to do this full time.
Very good. Well, you're both on board. And I was noticing in the notes, it said, I'm quoting you guys here, why you joined Lifestyles Unlimited, you had the single family at the time and thought multifamily was worth trying. And here's my quote: we believed it was something we could do for at least 5 years. Why is that number 5 years significant?
Because David kept saying the thing, 5 years till you can retire, 5 years till you can retire. Well, it wasn't quite 5 years. Well, about 4 years, really, 2018 till now. So in 4 years, he was right. We were both able to retire in 4 years. So it was crazy. We thought, well, in 5 years, we can do it. We can dedicate ourselves to this for 5 years. And sure enough, it absolutely worked.
No, I say 100% it works. Without a doubt, it's a lot of mentoring. It's a lot of leadership. It's unbelievable.
5 year retire in 5 years or less, and Kimberly in 1 year, and James in 4.
Yeah.
Aggregate between the two of you, you hit the 5 year mark. But hey, that is awesome. That is good stuff. So you absolutely did do it. And again, it takes that external push sometimes. You're embedded in what you're doing. 10 years, a single family seems to be working. Okay, well, we went to the first day of the 2-day, saw a lot of things that we can improve upon, but rather than stay focused on single family and improve that, you leveled up, and I bet you're glad you did. Now, did you do the 2-day there in Austin with David?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we've got offices in Central Texas here in Dallas, where I sit, down in Houston, Phoenix, and we do this actually across the nation, the Financial Freedom Seminar that we're talking about. And just for the listeners' sake, I want them to understand the first day, that's all we talk about is single family, some mindset stuff to get you over that, get you out of that track that you're on, which isn't going to get you where you want to go. Day 2, we get into the multifamily. And I tell you, I hear it time and again, single family investors get to that and they realize I got to shift gears now too. Multifamily it is. And you guys hit the ground running pretty darn fast. You got into your first apartment community as lead investors or syndicators within a year after joining. Can you tell us about that apartment investment? How was it finding it? Were you guys pretty nervous, or, hey, we've done single family times how many units, we can do this? What was that like?
Terrifying. We were terrified. I was terrified because I wanted to make sure that we were being successful because, you're looking at a passive investor's income, their money. You have this. You have to make sure that everything you do is by the book. But amazingly, when we started the process, I was surprised at how much we had learned along the way, as you're going through the process. But it was very scary at first.
How about the education? There's a pretty big educational component. I find that when I'm nervous or have some fear in front of me, if I learn about whatever that thing is, just that education helps me. How was the lead certification education for conquering that fear? How did that help you?
Oh, that helped tremendously.
Tremendously for me. It gives you a solid background, like you say, coming from single family and doing everything just kind of on a whim versus having a blueprint to do things was the big difference for us. And knowing that we would be successful at doing it because it was already a roadmap. All we have to do is stay on the road, and that helped out a lot.
I mean, it wasn't perfect. We had questions along the way, of course, and so it's nice because the mentor, the operations consultant, your KP, your key principal, they're all just one phone call away. I mean, you can pick up the phone and call a millionaire, and they answer the phone, and they answer your questions and help you move through that particular issue that you might be having. So I felt like I was supported 100% of the way, everything that we needed to know, or we could find it on the website or with people, or other leads were helpful as well.
Yeah, when you say call a millionaire, this isn't some random millionaire. These are millionaires that have made their money, like David Fisher, doing this very thing. So they understand the nuts and the bolts, and they understand the notion of giving back. I think that's a really, really big part of this ecosystem at Lifestyles Unlimited, is people willing to extend a hand to those that are now coming up. And this was your first investment. Now, you guys are in Austin. Where was this? Where were these apartments?
The first one,
San Antonio.
San Antonio off of Jefferson Street.
San Antonio. Okay. What size of community were we taking down there?
That was a 28 unit. My second property was a 108 unit, also in San Antonio.
Also San Antonio, and the third one. That's the one I mentioned that you guys just picked up. Where that one's in? Where's that one at?
Brownsville, Texas.
Okay, so you're in Austin, you're heading south to San Antonio. Now you've gone a little bit farther south to Brownsville. You can't go any farther south than that, guys.
No.
Otherwise, how long does it take you to get from Austin to Brownsville?
It's about 5 hours.
Okay. Well, you're retired now, James, so you got the time to do some windshield time to get down there. Tell me a little bit more. This 28 unit is the first one you did. Has that gone full cycle? Do you still own it, or have you sold?
It's gone full cycle. We sold it in June of this year, June 2022. Okay.
And how many? It's a smaller one, right? You've upgraded more than 4 times into your second one and your third one as well. How many investors were you able to bring along with you on that first community?
In the first community, we had about 25 investors.
And what sort of contribution? I think the listener sometimes, and I talk to investors all the time on this program and other programs where they think you got to be a millionaire to be an apartment investor. They didn't know you and I, James and Kimberly and Andy and his wife, that we could do this thing as apartment investors. It doesn't take as much money as you think. What was your minimum, or what were people getting into that community for? What's their investment?
Sure. Our minimum investment was $25,000, but we had investors at $10,000, $15,000, because if you just call the lead and ask them, I don't have quite 25, would you take 15 or 10? A lot of times they would. And we were first-time leads, and so it was important for us to have investors, as many investors as possible, to build your list, to build your following. And so we were more than, willing to accept someone who came in with less than $25,000.
Yeah, and I've done that before. Asked, hey, minimum maybe is 50. It depends on the capital raise, right? Some of these bigger apartment investments, they need more capital, so they may have a higher minimum. But I've talked with a number of passive investors, and they'll just like you said, just ask. Sometimes there's a gap they need to close, or They want to, again, give you a hand up. Hey, this is my first time to invest. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't want to do that big number. Sure, come on along. In fact, I was looking at the list of deals done. We'll talk about passive a little bit later. I noticed you're in one in Corpus. I'm in that one as well. I went and checked the Schedule A. It's like, sure enough, there's James and Kimberly. There are a number of lower contributions to get into that one as well. So lots of opportunity, no matter what kind of capital you bring to the table. So, hey, quick break. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
We went from 100% live to 100% virtual. And the funny thing is that nobody wants to go back to work now they work from home, right? So now my members are like, well, Del, we want to keep those virtual things open because now I know all the people in Miami and I know all the people in Chicago. I know all the people now know each other from all over the country because of these virtual events.
The free workshop, How to Retire in 5 Years or Less, is online. Go to lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today is Tell Al Tuesday. This is not Al. This is Andy Webb. I'm filling in, and I'm joined today by James and Kimberly. If you missed any of the earlier part of the show, go to our website, lifestylesunlimited.com. This will be archived there. But we heard that these are investors based out of Austin. They'd been investing in single family on their own, learning the hard way prior to joining Lifestyles Unlimited. They came to Lifestyles and realized, boy, single family is great. But they heard about multifamily, apartments. This is our thing. Started divesting those, and we've heard that they have become lead investors, syndicators in multiple apartment communities. Guys, I want to wrap up the conversation around that first apartment investment because that has gone full cycle. So we've gone from start to finish. Can you give us a little numbers around that deal in terms of the investment itself?
Sure. We purchased a property in 2019 for $2.5 million. Probably in 2021, January 2021, right after the pandemic, we refinanced, gave our passives 60% return on their investment. We literally sent them a check for 60% of what they'd given us, what they had invested. And then we kept paying out returns the rest of the year for another year and a half. We sold it recently in June of this year for $4.5 million.
Wow. So the important thing there I want to underscore on the refi, that is not a taxable event. So if I put in $100,000, I'm getting $60K out just at the refi, tax free. And then a year later, you're selling it for, I guess we doubled our money on that easily, right?
Yes.
Well, it was 100. We gave them the money back and then another 130%.
130%. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So again, your minimum was 25. You took, let's take that lower number, 10K. Someone that put in 10K, they're getting 23,000 back. You can do that. Add zeros if you want to get bigger with your numbers, but good stuff. Full cycle. Mm-hmm. So you held it for what? About three and a half years?
We held it for 3 years because of COVID.
Yeah.
We had that kind of delay of COVID. No one was doing anything, and we were fortunate to come at the end of it after COVID when everything was going through the roof. We sold at that moment.
Yeah. And since you've sold that, you went on to pick up a second one in San Antonio. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we picked up a 108 unit in San Antonio. It's a 1973 build. We purchased it for $8.6 million. I think it's $8.6 million is what we purchased that property for. No, I'm sorry, $8 million, right? $8 million.
$8 million.
$8 million. And so we have about 42 investors in that deal. The minimum investment on that one was $50. We have some people in the deal for $20. That's our lowest investor in that one. It's doing really, really well right now. We're doing it's our first full year. I think we've been in, 12 months now exactly almost. And we paid out, on average, 6.5%.
That's good. And that's stabilized because now you've moved on to investment number 3. This is the Brownsville one. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So we're excited about that one. It's 115 doors in Brownsville. It's probably 15, 20 minutes from SpaceX, and it's also right there near South Padre Island. And it's 1973 build. Very excited about it. I mean, it's new, so we're just, working through everything we can work through. We purchased it we ended up at 8.4, 115 doors, so we got a really good deal on it. But, it's going to be a little bit of a value add, which means, there's work to be done before we can actually start making distributions on it.
Yeah, and I, as a passive investor, that's what I'm looking to learn on these investments. Is it more of a yield play or hybrid? It sounds like your second San Antonio investment was, so that's throwing off cash flow very quickly, 6.5% return annually. Or is it a value add where maybe I'm not seeing cash flow for 12, maybe 24 months, but the value add component, that's that capital gain that we're going to see either at refi or at sale. What do you do? So for the value add component here, what are the big drivers of value as you approach this Brownsville property?
Probably the biggest driver is the rent. The rents are grossly under market because the property was not in very good shape. So once we go in there and actually, work on the exterior, put in new roofs, and actually drive up rents, that's going to really drive the value of the property. I
love that. When it's physical distress, sometimes there's things behind the walls. You get some surprises, but boy, when it's just under market rents, that's a pretty easy value add component there. Yep. Who was the owner? Was it local, out of state? I don't need to know the name, but where was it? I commonly see these more distant owners that are not keeping up with the rent. Who did we encounter here?
Definitely a distant owner who admittedly said, I did not keep up with the rents, and we could have done a lot better. But I think he was I think it was New Jersey. I think he's out of New Jersey.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
Definitely a distant owner.
I mean, you guys have the experience now. You've you're now on your third investment, and it's very common. Distant, out of touch, out of sight, out of mind. And they just don't keep up with these things. And that's good for you and for me. Now, this is in Brownsville. We just heard 5-hour drive from Austin. What's the plan for you guys, boots on the ground? How do you operate that?
We'll end up living in Brownsville for the next couple of months until we get the major rehab done. Then once we get everything stabilized and all of our rehabs and everything just on terms, then we'll end up just traveling back and forth from Austin to San Antonio and Brownsville every week or every 2 weeks.
Okay, very good. Well, hey, you've got great timing. I know we've had a hot beat down of a summer, but we are headed towards winter, so I can't think of a better time to be snowbirds, right? Heading south for the winter. Very good, guys. I did see this Brownsville. It's interesting as a passive investor. I hear a lot from new people that are joining. They're worried that maybe there won't be enough opportunity for me to even park my funds in investments out there. And I saw yours come across my radar. I've seen I don't know how many since I've shifted from single to multifamily. That is just not a problem. The bigger problem that I've encountered, guys, I run out of funds. So very good. I'm excited to hear more about this Brownsville SpaceX. Very, very, very big name in the news. When it comes to finding those passive investors like myself, how are you connecting? How are you making your name known out there?
Well, shows like this help us. They help us, and we're also listed on the Lifestyle Podium. It's a platform that we use in Lifestyle that helps people connect.
Yeah, it makes it very seamless, again, as from someone operating on the passive side, makes it very, very easy. And I know, I believe it was at Expo last year in Houston, I talked with you guys. I talked with a lot of leads, believe me. I talked to so many people. Will you guys be coming up to the Expo this coming year in Irving?
Hotel rooms reserved already.
Awesome. Very good. And for the listener, that's going to be February 15th through the 18th, 2023. And that's our Wealth and Passive Income Expo. Go to our website to learn more. It's lifestylesunlimited.com. I don't think the passes are out yet, but obviously you can start booking the hotel rooms, start the planning, thousands of investors. So if you want to meet folks like James and Kimberly, or even meet James and Kimberly, well, we just heard it, they're going to be there, and you should be too. So you guys, lead investors, got out of the single family, got a few more to sell. Looking at your deals done, I do see some passive investments. We don't have a lot of time left, so we're going to head into a break here in just a moment. But when we come back, what I want to do is hear a little bit about the dual path of being a lead and what you're looking for yourselves now that you've been on the lead side, right? You've experienced that. What is it that you look for as passive investors? And maybe we can get a few tips for those that are passives in identifying those, those investment opportunities. And also, I see that you're a KP. Kimberly, you mentioned this a moment ago. KP is what? Key principal. Mm-hmm. I want to hear from you guys as well. Why be a KP? What does that mean? How do you contribute? Why is it important to me as a passive? If you have questions, send me an email to askandy@luinc.com. Filling in today for Al on Tell Al Tuesday, and I'm joined by James and Kimberly. Boy, guys, we've heard some good numbers already. You are lead investors, which in the broader apartment world, they might be called syndicators or general partners. They're the project managers in my vernacular, putting together the investment opportunity. First investment went full cycle, 130% return. Great numbers. Second investment, stabilized, kicking off 6.5% cash on cash return. Great numbers. Third investment just closed. So come back. We'll probably have you on the show again and hear how that's going. Certainly, I'll look to talk with you guys at the Wealth and Passive Income Expo. We just mentioned that. Let's talk now about the rest of your deals done, because you're not exclusively operating as leads. You are investing in other lead investors' projects as well. Why are you also going the passive route? What's the motivation there?
Well, you have to set up for success, and I think you need to invest in other people that are up and coming, and you just pour in more money to have it out there working for you.
Yeah, and that's what Lifestyle teaches you. It's about wealth building. So it's not going to do me any good in the bank. So I might as well, find other deals that are out there, people that are working in different areas, and invest in other people as well.
Yeah, keep that money working for you. Is there anything in particular, as putting on your passive hat, is there anything in particular you're looking for in an investment or in a lead? What pulls you into, or what has pulled you into the couple that you're in so far?
A lot of it is knowing your lead. New leads, we do invest in new leads. It's also evaluating the property also, and having an understanding of how a lead works is very important for us, and making sure that they do follow the roadmap. They're not just out there doing it on their own, trying to figure it out. Someone that's asking a lot of questions, doing the right thing. That's what we look for.
Yeah, we also look into, as a lead, you know other leads, and so you meet them, you get to know them, so you know what they're doing, and so you have that relationship with them. And so we'll invest with leads that we have a personal relationship with as well.
Yeah, the network is very, very, very strong, and that's what I hear across the board. And to your point, James, about a roadmap, I'm going to get very specific here. We have something called the white paper, which is something that the Lifestyles Unlimited has put together with the Brain Trust, which are those multimillionaires that you guys mentioned earlier, that say, hey, this is really how a lead investor should operate as a steward or fiduciary with respect to those passive investors' money. These are the things they should be doing or not doing. And that's called the white paper. It's a set of guidelines, and that is the roadmap, essentially. I want to see that those lead investors that you're talking about and that I'm looking at as well are following and abiding by that. And if they are, I know we're going to have a good outcome. You're held to higher standards, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at investments outside of Lifestyles Unlimited. I get a lot of stuff across my desk, and like the Schedule A, I mentioned that I noticed, hey, they're in one of the Corpus Christi investments. I went and looked at the Schedule A. Sure enough, there were your names. In fact, there were the names of every other investor. I don't see that outside of Lifestyles Unlimited with the stuff that I've looked at, haven't participated. There are a lot of other things that happen outside there. It's kind of the wild, wild west. And boy, you guys are just held to a higher standard, a different standard, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys as passives, looking at your investments so far, it looks like you focused on South and Central Texas. Obviously, that's where you know the leads. Any plans to go outside of Texas or look farther afield?
Yes, we're always looking. I mean, you don't want to be the one blazing the trail, but if we know someone in another state that's doing well that we can learn from and a good deal comes up, we're more than willing to go. No little ones at home that we got to take care of, so we're open.
And I'm curious, so I mentioned the KP. I do see that you guys are a key principal on one of the investments. Can you tell me, for the listener's sake, what is that and what does a KP do? How does that help the investors?
Sure. One of the things, whenever you're getting ready to buy a multifamily property, you have to have the experience. A bank is just not going to lend to anyone a multifamily property, so you have to have that experience. And so in order for a first-time lead to get a deal, they have to have someone sign the note or sign on the loan with them. And so we signed on the loan with another first-time lead for the experience and also for the net worth.
And I think you mentioned when you guys did your first, you had a KP along for the ride as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yes, just part of the process. And I, as a passive, I know a lot of these investors, and I can have a conversation with you, the potential leads for me, as well as the KP, see what they're doing. And it's just another advisor for you guys when you have a KP along as well.
That's exactly what it is.
So you've got the key principal helping you. You mentioned the mentors. You mentioned the operation consultants. How else has Lifestyles Unlimited helped you as lead investors thus far?
Well, other leads too. And we have monthly meetings with other leads. We bring up issues that we're all, we talk amongst each other. We have meetings, and also the apartment association. We're very involved with the apartment association. There are a bunch of meetings there. So Lifestyles leads are well educated, very well educated.
I bet.
They have a ton of information that they give willingly. I mean, if it's something that you might have encountered or think you're going to encounter, someone that's already encountered don't have a problem letting you know how to go about solving it or what to do before it gets to a certain point. It's just the amount of information that's there is unbelievable.
Yeah, formal education through the lead certification, or for me, the passive certification process, and then to your point, the informal connections, the conversation. I mean, it's like a huge database. You got a huge database of potential passives at your fingertips, and you've got a huge database of leads and multimillionaires to go to for assistance if you need it. One other big question for you. And we heard about the retirement already. How has Lifestyles Unlimited changed your lives?
Yeah, the retirement is one big one. It's buying back our time right now. We're getting to spend time with the grandkids, friends. Not really many vacations yet, but as soon as we get this Browns deal behind us, we're going to take us a nice little vacation.
Yeah, you just hop across the water to South Padre. You're on the beach.
No joke. We're going to be down there with fishing rods and everything. But, I mean, what it's done, it has changed our lives. I mean, when we first started Lifestyles, we were able to just do our first multifamily. We weren't able to actually invest with other leads. But now we're able to invest with other leads. And the ultimate goal, of course, is to be a 100% passive investor where our money's working for us and we can, travel lifestyle. And then also our kids, teaching our kids this method and this system and making sure that they understand and that they join Lifestyles and they become leads as well would be really the ultimate goal. But it's changed our lives. We don't worry about retirement anymore. We're already retired. We have enough income coming in. We're set in 4 years. 4 years.
Very good. Yeah, 5 years or less. David Fish will tell you that at the 2-day Financial Freedom Seminar. You can go to the 4-day if you don't want to. If you're not around one of our local offices, that's done fully online. Great opportunity there. Any other goals in the near or midterm for you guys?
Continue to buy properties. That's one of our main goals.
Yeah, and I heard shift ultimately from the active role as a lead, and it is very active, right? It's a job, into that passive space. For the listener out there that's hearing us talk about, you've done single family, now you've done multifamily as both a lead, a KP, I should add, and as a passive investor. What advice would you have to that person that's tuning in right now?
Do it now.
So as quick as you can, because you'll be kicking yourself in the next 2 years or 3 years when you decide to join, saying, I wished I would have done it sooner. Do it.
Yep.
I mean, we've told a lot of friends about it, and, everyone's like, yeah. They think it's some type of multi-level marketing, and okay, but they don't actually do it. And now that they're seeing our lifestyles change, we have these same friends, hey, what exactly are you guys doing? It's like, wait a minute. I started to tell you this like 3 years ago. You've wasted 3 years. And so now they want to know more about it.
That is the most common regret. If I ask any investor that is succeeding as you guys are, anyone else I've had on the show, it is, I wish I had begun sooner. That is my regret. I wish I had started earlier. I wish I had shifted into multifamily sooner than I did. I'll tell you guys, single family is addicting. It's hard to break away sometimes. It's like eating that can of chips. You just can't stop. But boy, I had to put the can down and shift gears. And yeah, great advice. Take action. And I mentioned the Wealth and Passive Income Expo. That's a great place to start. That will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area next year in Irving. Oh, or just go to our website, lifestylesunlimited.com, and there's a button there that will say free workshop. Great place to start. Hour and a half, fully online. Learn what we do. Learn how we make money with our apartments, with our single family as well, if that's the route for you. Sometimes that's the route to go to build up capital, right, James and Kimberly?
Yes, sir.
But you get the capital,
definitely.
you shift gears, and you start to take action like these guys did as well. Hey, great information today, great story, and again, congratulations. Kimberly belatedly retired a handful of years ago, but James, you just did it. I'm thrilled for you. Big congrats, and thanks for sharing today. And again, remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.